Yeah, so I'm a true believer that mindset is one of the pieces. So it's kind of like that three-legged stool. So
Mhm.
you need to, one, be clear about what it is that you actually want. And I find a lot of women, in particular, we're not clear about what we want. We want what society tells us what we want or what we think we can have
Mm.
versus what we think that we can really do and deserve, right? And then the other piece is then being able to create a plan. It's one thing to have an idea of what you want, but then having a realistic plan to make that happen makes it so much easier and a lot less overwhelming. And then you get to the piece around the mindset, which I think is probably 90% of the challenge for people, and really shifting their mindset. And I would say the biggest challenge that I see is a lot of times we think once I get to the goal, then my mindset will change. When in reality, your mindset has to change before you get to the goal.
Mm.
And that is the biggest thing that people don't really realize. And so what ends up happening is, like you said, each year we set the same goals over and over and over and over and over again. And we wonder, is there something wrong with my goal? Is there something wrong with me? Is my goal
Mhm.
too big? And I always tell people it's not that your goals are too big, it's that your mindset is too small. And you cannot accomplish a new goal with an old mindset.
Ooh, that's so good because I think especially sometimes you brought this up. Sometimes our idea of success or what we're going after is somebody else's. It's somebody else's
Mhm.
goal for us, somebody else's idea of who we should be. And so that's interesting what you said that our mindset is too small. And so how do we start to expand that? Does it start with getting clear on what you actually want? Is that the best way to start to expand your mindset? I'm so curious about this because it just resonates so much.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. I think you need to be clear about what it is that you want to begin with. And then that way, then you can start thinking about who must I become and what are the beliefs I need to have, what are the behaviors I need to have to be that person. Right. And so I'll give you a real practical example. This year, when I was setting my goals, I did something completely different. And I started with my life goals instead of my business goals. And so
Mm.
in the past, I've always planned kind of my life around my business and or career. And so this year, I just took out a sheet of paper, two lines down the paper. First to the left, I said, okay, what do I want my life to look like and feel like? And I
Mm.
just wrote down, didn't judge it, didn't say, well, how am I going to do with that? How am I going to figure that out? That's way too big. The second one was, what does my business need to look like in order to align with that? And the last column is, who must I become to actually do that? And see, that's the thing. I think a lot of times people just are so motivated and they start working towards their goals and they don't realize or think about what are those negative mindsets that I'm going to have to let go? What are
Mhm.
the beliefs that I'm going to have to adopt in order to make that happen? And so once you start doing that, things get a whole lot easier because it's never like a physical limitation for most of us. It's always a psychological limitation.
And that psychological limitation reminds me so much of what you said about how do I want to feel? How do
Mhm.
these goals make me feel? And sometimes it's our emotions that get in our way of that mindset or stepping forward. That negative self talk, those negative limiting beliefs sometimes are so tied in to those emotions. So I think what you said
Mhm.
is so interesting of picture for yourself not only the goal, but also how you want to feel. And so if we can
Exactly.
start to tap into how something will make us feel, personally, when I've done that, it makes me feel more motivated and more clear. And then also
Mhm.
like, oh my God, like, is this feeling, emotion, is this thing going to be possible for me? I think it serves as an expander for yourself in that way too. I love what you said.
Exactly. Exactly. And I tell people be emotionally connected. And people may have a different idea of this, but I
Mhm.
believe, and in my experience, it helps when you are emotionally connected to your goal. If you're not emotionally connected to the goal, you're not going to do anything different, which
No,
is, AKA, the hard stuff to make it happen. But you shouldn't be emotionally connected to the outcome. I mean, to the process. And
yeah.
that's what I find people are making the mistake. They're not emotionally connected to the goal, but they're completely emotionally connected to the process,
Mm.
which is probably going to be a bit uncomfortable. And we really need to switch those two.